Do I think about how well something is going to sell when you're designing, or do you just make games you want to play? I do not. So here's the thing. Game design is very important to me. I want to make the best design possible. It is not really possible to do that if you're thinking about how well it's going to sell, because those decisions of how well it's going to sell will adulterate your decision-making process about what's a good design. Now, nevertheless, sometimes those feelings come up, or those. So here's the thing about The Witness, for example. Early on in the concept of the game, I had figured out, I want to have these panels. The panels are going to have some puzzle stuff on them. They're going to go in sequences. I'd figured that out. And then I was like, okay, at the end of the sequence, people aren't going to just want to play puzzles, so I need to give people a reward. So there'll be like a little loot box at the end of every panel sequence, and you'll get something out of that. That's like a collectible, right? And at some point later on, maybe a year after that, I'd had this idea for a year that was how it was going to be. I just didn't implement it. And eventually I was like, wait, that's bullshit. I'm just saying that because I think that that's what's going to sell. But I should just have more faith in the puzzles being interesting and just make that work, because that's what I believe in and that's what I think the good thing is. And as soon as I realized that, I said, okay, I have to change that design decision, because that design decision is going to make the game more mediocre than it would be otherwise. So I didn't have collectibles at the end of every row of panels. That said, some people complain about that. Some people say the game is not rewarding enough, but that's the decision that you make, right? So I think the game is much better than it would be if it strung you along with rewards, because it is, to some degree, a game about exploring by your own motivation. That's part of what makes it strong. So I try not to think about how something is going to sell. I try not to let that affect the design process. But also, once the game is designed and it's close to being finished, you do have to sell it to people if you want to stay in business and put food on the table and all that. And so I do switch into a mode where I think quite a lot about how to sell the game. But that happens after it is designed. It does not happen before it is designed, right? I'm not Electronic Arts. They're separate. And that's very important for me. Yeah, no, Philip Trudeau is exactly right. There's a reason Candy Crush sells better than The Witness, right? No doubt. Candy Crush, the amount of money that The Witness made compared to Candy Crush is zero on any graph that you wish to make. It's like an error term way down in the margin. But I would much rather have made The Witness than Candy Crush. No bullshit. Well, there is, if I made one Candy Crush and had like several $billion, then I could do a lot with that. But the problem is, people who fall into that mode of thought never seem to, it's like a gravity well that pulls you in and people never escape from it. I've never seen someone do that successfully and then turn around and do things as interesting design-wise as I would do. I guess there's people who do other stuff, like Bill Gates turned around and did a lot of good philanthropy stuff. But I'm not sure that was his plan from the beginning. I think he just was fortunate enough to turn over a different leaf in life and do something different. But people who say, I'm just going to do this stuff for the money for a while, and then I'm totally not going to do stuff for the money, it doesn't usually work that way. People usually find excuses why they have to keep doing stuff for the money.